What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and this may be the most obvious video I've ever done on this channel, but it's one that I feel like I might as well do because there might be some people that don't know. So, if you don't know, when Chet Holmgren got drafted, I explained how in a real or fake league, he was going to break his body trying to box out Draymond Green. And to his defense, it wasn't Draymond Green he was trying to box out, but he did essentially tear his ACL, broke a bone or something, missed the season, essentially just playing basketball because the guy is a Big Mac heavier than Steph Curry, who's a foot smaller than him. So I want to go into Wemby and if he's going to bust, because a lot of people think he might. It's a different type of league. He needs to put some weight on. You know, he reminds us, people of Anthony Davis. He might not go too long, etc. So I'm going to explain why I believe the guy's going to go insane, and I think he's just a lock for Rookie of the Year. Last I checked, he was minus 300, which is not bad considering there's not going to be anybody that comes close to him. He's on a team where it's just him, and it seems like Pop is trying to recreate another Hall of Fame big man. I wouldn't be surprised if they got Draymond Green. But my point is there's just nobody that has an opportunity. Whoever goes to Charlotte, you got Ball there. So a real or fake standpoint, Wemby's winning Rookie of the Year. Now let's go into this. Yao averaged a meager 19-9 his career. I say meager because it's a Hall of Fame career, with 1.6 assists. Obviously no rings, no MVPs. He made the All-Star team every year. Then again, Yi Jianlin made it a few times. So Antoine Jamison averaged 17.5 and right around 8 rebounds his career. And nobody even kind of considers him a Hall of Famer, despite him doing a lot more with a lot less, playing better defense, and, in my opinion, just being a better player. He was injured less, etc. So why did Yao make the Hall of Fame? Well, it's obvious. International appeal. In China, obviously, and it's not the only country, but giant stranglehold on the NBA. And it's not, again, it's to the point where it's not just dependent on China. That's why you were seeing a few international guys, but they were mostly from Spain, China. You had some from France, and now they're from all over the place. Wemby's, I think, going to be the first Hall of Famer, whatever you want to call him, superstar, megastar, that comes out of France. And the reason I believe it is something that I found interesting. Somebody posted, Hugo, I really found this post interesting, and I appreciate it. As you can see, Hugo went into this, and he just posted the FIBA World Cup 23 winners, and I thought it was very odd. So the odds-on favorite two teams, again, it comes down to, I literally went into this, how it seems like it's going U.S. international in basketball. And for the people that think all sports are connected, I'm with you. I believe they are too. So literally 5 of these 6 teams have an NBA top 10 player. And I say top 10 because I think Wemby is going to be established that way. But we have USA, who you can just pick who you want for the USA. Let's go with LeBron James. Serbia, obviously, you got Jokic. Australia is the only one that doesn't have anybody. I can't put Patty Mills in that category. France, obviously, Wemby. Canada, Embiid, and Slovenia, Luka. So it's very interesting that the same teams that are doing very good in soccer are also doing good in the NBA. They have top stars, and then you have Messi just went to Miami. So it is very, very interesting in my opinion. I think it is connected, and I always appreciate Hugo and everybody that post these type of alpha in the Discord. But yeah, it's pretty simple. I don't see any chance of Wemby not having an amazing rookie season. They have to establish him as this generational talent that is not just, another guy that just came out of nowhere. And after what they did with Jokic, there's no way that they're going to have Wemby, who again, is way more athletic. He needs to put on some weight, of course. I've gone into Holmgren, but Wemby, of course, is a different breed. There's just no way they're going to have this guy come out and be a bust. You could do that before with your Bargnanis. You could do that before with players. You just can't do it now. You can't do it because there's too many international eyes. Do you really think they're going to have this opportunity now where they can have so many people from France watching? This is exactly what WWE does. and they're going to have him look bad. He's not going to look like a superstar. There's just no way. So my overall point of this is I absolutely love Wemby to win Rookie of the Year. Furthermore, if there's props on his numbers, I think they're going to be absolutely outstanding. I don't have exacts, but I'm thinking, 25, 10 to 12, something of that nature. I think the guy's just going to go insane. And San Antonio, a great team to pick for the playoffs because you have 10 teams making the playoffs. And it's coming down to draws. So when 2 years ago, I think the Spurs were like just a game out of the play-in, it's definitely more than a possibility. And again, I think they might be trying to recreate, I went over this before, and it seems like they're trying to recreate 90s vibes. So like in the Atlantic Division, I noticed it's way more physical now. You have guys like Mitchell Robinson playing like your old school centers. Joker is playing like an old school player. A lot of the international players play like old school players. And I think Wemby is just going to, as much as they love Tony Parker, I think they can't have him as the greatest French basketball player of all time. And I think Wemby's going to wind up being that guy. And again, I don't think it's a coincidence. You see it happen with Dallas. People say, oh, he got another white guy. But really, it was another European. And it's because of the markets. And here in Houston, Texas, where, you do have a lot of markets. People just assume Texas is all people from Mexico. It's not. You have a huge demographic in Texas. So anyway, I think it's very interesting that we have now Wemby going to Houston. And obviously we have Luka in Dallas. And this is going to be a trend. Like every year there's going to be, in my opinion, another international star that goes in the top 10. And they might not all pan out perfectly. But especially after looking at that soccer stat, I really do think that Wemby is going to just have a heck of a year. So I know it's not shocking news, but if you can get him at 3-1 for Rookie of the Year, I just don't see why not. I just can't see them giving it to Scoot or anybody else. Again, these other guys are going to be on Charlotte and in Portland and their guards. Scoot is. So it's going to be very difficult for them to fit them in. Looks like Dame's staying in Portland. It looks like Charlotte's going to have Ball. So just from a real, fake, any kind of perspective, it just makes sense to me that it's going to be Wemby. And as you can see, the first guy that pops up here, because he was in trade talks, is Porzingis. And here's a perfect example of a guy that there's these guys that'll just go cold for like 2 years. And I know he had good stats. But, when you can't get your team to a play-in and you're injured for a little bit and you're just off and on, it does come down to, this guy, obviously, he's just not that great. So just a couple years of really not doing anything. And now all of a sudden he's good enough to be traded for Marcus Smart, who I think is, tremendously underrated. But the Celtics needed to make this trade like ASAP. They had to pull the trigger on Porzingis, and he's being pushed as this mega draw. So I expect Porzingis to have a really good year. And I think a lot of people are just going to assume, it's the big man syndrome. He starts off pretty good like David Lee, whoever, someone like that. And then each and every year, or Kevin Lovett, they get older or once they're not in their run anymore and they kind of move around to different teams, they start doing poor. And I think Porzingis is going to be an outlier. I think they want to get Lafayette watching too. So I think he definitely has probably his best season to date. Maybe he had a couple like padded seasons with the Knicks. But I think as far as playoffs, we're going to see a different Porzingis this year. And again, it's not a coincidence. If you look at the International Hall of Famers, there's not a lot. Like I know Hakeem is in there. I think Powell is in there. I think he got put in. Dirk. There's not a lot. There might be like 10. Maybe I'm way off, but I can't think of a ton off the top of my head. I know that there's International Hall of Famers, but I don't think it's like 20 or so. My point is, at the pace we're going, we're going to have more active international players that are going to be in the Hall of Fame than International Hall of Famers currently, and it's not even going to be close. And even if you just look at the numbers of these guys, they're outperforming the International Hall of Famers. So, Yao's in the Hall of Fame too, of course. So, like, compare Yao to Joker. It's not even close. He's already a Hall of Famer. There's no way you can argue Yao is better than him. And I think that's going to be the case. Again, it's smart business. This is why Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. It's not because he was the greatest basketball player. It's because he was the greatest draw. It's about getting people to watch the sport. And they're learning, wow, we can get a couple 10, 20 million just by, having a star for this country and a star for that country and a star for this country. So I'm waiting for the first. It's been a while, and I brought this up to people. We really haven't had, obviously we had Rubio. There's been a few, but I'm waiting for the first Latin guy to just come out and be completely unstoppable. Like, next level. Bargnani, Italian, he failed, obviously. Like I said, Rubio didn't do too well. So I think it's a matter of time. I'm just waiting for the first Latin guy to come out and just set the league on fire. Very fun to watch. Actually, it's funny because I watch Mexican basketball and it reminds me of luchador wrestling. Just the fast pace, the hustle, the 110%. So there's parallels for sure. So I'll make that call now. In the next, I'll just say Latin because it could be a guy from Spain. It could be I think Mexico specifically, for some reason, I think there's going to be a star that comes out of Mexico. But my prediction that guy is going to be the greatest of all time from his country whenever that guy is drafted. So we got Wemby this year. Maybe it's in a year or two we get a guy out of Mexico because we really haven't had any Mexican stars yet. And what's weird is Tony Romo is half Mexican. And you'd think they would have pushed that with him being in Dallas in the NFL, and they really didn't. Now, they could have been just trying to cater to like a white audience, I guess, but I don't see why that would make any sense. But yeah, that would have been a really smart idea, I think. It would have got a lot of people watching him. A lot of people just think he's Italian, and he's not. He's half Mexican. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before we get that in the NBA. And as you can see, we're filling in the map. I mean, they're starting to just hit every country in Central Europe, obviously, a lot of Asian players. And I think it's just they're going to continue hitting different parts of the globe. And that's why I think Porzingis has a great year. Something like comeback player of the year is definitely in the possibility realm. Luka for MVP, I think that happens. I think Wemby wins Rookie of the Year. Also, look at this. They love setting records. So you can already kind of see the record. Maybe they say something like, for the first time ever, an international guy's won every award. Whether someone wins the MVP, maybe Joel Embiid wins the Finals MVP. So I'm just saying, keep your eyes out for the international appeal factor this year. It's not going to be taken lightly. I think it's going to be very, very blatant, very obvious. And I think the teams with international players are going to do very, very well. So overall message is I'd get Wemby at Rookie of the Year now. And just more important, the Spurs and all those kind of props. And yeah, just keep your eye on the prospects going forward and just how they're handled. We'll see how KP does all of a sudden. We'll see how much differently he plays. And that's not just him. Now, there's a lot of players that are like role players in the international, sector. So they might start really balling out. And I think that's what's going to happen. Again, you watch wrestling now, half of the wrestlers are from like the UK or from someplace in Asia or someplace in Southern America. There's way more. They realize there's more international people. There's more international people that attend WWE's WrestleMania than American people. There's way more international people that watch it than American. And NBA is the same. It's no different. It's just been slowly transitioning. I went into this in my last video going into the last several champions. If you want to check that out. It just goes into how it just kind of really changed out of nowhere from mostly just your American teams, your Chicagos, your Detroits, and out of nowhere. And it was kind of happening in the mix too, but it's like international star, international team. And it's just, in my opinion, it can't be a coincidence. So yeah, off the bat, I like KP after this trade. I like Wemby. I think he has the best, they talk about generational talents. I think he has the best year for a generational talent in a very long time. If you want to call Derrick Rose a generational talent, I think by generational talent, they mean they're just built differently, more so than they're talented. But either way, however you want to define it, I think it's going to be pretty close to LeBron-esque, especially with LeBron passing the torch. So it should all be very interesting. And putting him with Pop, to me, is just icing on the cake. They're not going to let Pop go out like that with an international bust. So it'll be interesting to watch, and I'm curious what you guys think. If you actually think he's going to bust, let me know why. I'd be very curious to know. So take care and happy earnings.